Hey there, it's Lenny McGill with the GlockStore Performance and Custom Shop right here in the Nashville studios today, and going to talk about one of the most popular guns in America today, and that is, of course, the G43, the Glock 43X with the MOS, which not only has the modular optic system plate, but it also has an accessory rail. Now, when this gun was first introduced, what's really interesting is that there weren't many accessories available for the rail. So everybody was like, oh, well, gee, what good is it? Because none of the lights, none of the full-size lights for the full-size guns or the larger guns, larger frames, would actually fit onto that rail. So everybody's scratching their head going, oh my gosh, well, I mean, it's great, it's cool. I certainly, there was only one optic at that time that actually worked as well. Now, the manufacturers have kind of caught up. That said, we're going to show you one of those accessories. And it is from Streamlight. It is their TLR7 sub light. Actually, sub for subcompact, I guess, is what they're talking about. But it's a TLR7 version. And it comes with this rail mounting system, similar to all the other TLR lights that they make. It's kind of neat. It's a spring-loaded screw. It's 500 lumens. I mean, look at the size of this thing. And the weight is barely anything. So it's unbelievable what they have been able to do with the electronics here in this last 5-year period. Lights have gotten smaller, they've gotten brighter. This thing is awesome. Like I said, it's a TLR7 sub, they call it. It does have a strobe feature. It also has your flash on, flash off, or momentary on, momentary off, or you can just click it on and it will stay on for a while. So we'll demonstrate that as we get it loaded. This one also has another feature that I've seen on the other Streamlights, and it's basically kind of an on-off safety feature so that you don't accidentally bump that switch when you put it into your bag or you put it in your safe or it's traveling in a car and all of a sudden you bump the switch and the flashlight is going to be on. So the way that works is right here on top. You can see if you're getting close here, you'll see a closed circle and an open circle. And this bezel here will rotate, open, and back closed. Let me go ahead and get my hand on the thing. So there is open and back here closed. And you kind of feel it. And there's like 2 small little indents here that kind of go back and forth. Now to unscrew this is just going to be all the way off. It does have a rubber gasket in here that keeps it somewhat watertight. Not necessarily waterproof, but watertight. It does take your standard CR123 batteries that are available at Walmart, et cetera, et cetera. And we're going to go ahead and drop this battery in now. I always get confused sometimes which way the positive is, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be positive down. And screw it in here. Let's see if it's going to be right. All right, now it's in the off position, so now I'm going to bring it, that's off, and now it's on the on position, and now just tap it, and there it is. Man, you can see how bright it is. Right down the lens there. So that's the on-off position. Now, so I've got the battery in, and it comes out of the front, so you can actually leave it on there when you're changing batteries if you need to. Like I said, the fail-safe feature, though, is if you see that it goes on, right? Now, if you're going to be storing it and you're going to be traveling with it or you're going to put it in your bag, you're going to want to just pop this up 1 notch, and now it doesn't accidentally click on. That's really a nice feature because these batteries will last probably about an hour, hour and a half. I mean, again, think about it. You're spitting out 500 lumens, and an hour and a half is a long time if you're on and off, on and off. But if you let it sit there in your bag, overnight it'll be gone. So that's a nice feature to remember. All right, so now I've got it back on. And it's basically, you can see we're just kind of pulling that battery away from the contact. All right, so now to pop it on here, you're going to notice on the bottom of your Glock, you're going to have a small, well, you have the big rail, then you have a small Picatinny type rail that you're going to anchor this piece into right here. All right, and that is their little piece. Now, some lights that I've seen have different shapes and they're interchangeable. I didn't see any in this package. So this is made really for Glock. I think it's going to work for Glock perfectly. If you had a different gun, the shape of this piece here that actually bites into the rail may not fit. But I have to assume that, it says here on their package, it says, for Glock 43X MOS, 48 MOS, as well as, and here's another interesting thing it says, which I thought was pretty interesting because it says 43X rail and 48 rail. Now, I didn't know they sold the guns with just the rails and not the MOS. But they may be starting to do that, or maybe thinking about that, they being Glock. So let's go ahead and install this thing. And you can see it's pretty simple. Basically, we're going to go ahead and take this spring action. I'm going to go ahead and just push it to it so it opens up a little bit. If it doesn't open up enough, just turn the screw to a little bit lefty-loosey, and then go ahead and do it again. So it should just pop right in here. And there you go. Now I want to make sure it's locked in. It is. And it's basically in place. Now I just need to tighten it down a little bit. And I'll just do it hand tight here. They do have a screw tip there. You can put a quarter into there or a dime into it. And I'll just tighten it up a little bit here and then talk about the operation. Now these lights, are super valuable for self-defense and for home defense. From a limited, or say a liability standpoint, it's always nice to be able to tell the prosecuting attorney who's trying to make you look like a bad guy that I had a light on my gun and I was able to identify the target. All right? Because they're going to, if you have a shooting in your house, they're going to grill you. They're going to say, well, why did you shoot that person? Well, he was in my house, it was late. Well, how do you know who it was? Well, I had a light, sir, and I was able to identify that he was a bad guy. And he had a weapon, or he had a really mean, aggressive look, and he was starting to come at me, and I had to shoot him because I feared for my life. That's really the only reason you can shoot someone. All right, not because he's got your TV or he's got your computer or your iPad or your iPhone or whatever. He was coming at me, and I thought he was going to kill me. So I had to take care of it, okay? So that's how you operate the concept of a light, is that it's there to identify the threat, all right? We don't want to use this light as a flashlight, looking for your keys or something like that. And I know we've all done that. It's not a good habit, okay? You should have a different flashlight for that. This is really a weapon light that's designed to identify the target because, again, there's a trigger right there. And the last thing you want to do is be running around with this like a flashlight and trying to find stuff on the floor or something like that. But that's another story. You should have a separate flashlight for that. Now, the way you operate these, and what's really interesting, two things. It's got switches on both sides, for both are left or right-handed. Some people like to operate that switch with their right hand. I'm right-handed, and with their trigger finger, quote unquote. I like to operate the switch with the off thumb. I feel it just sits right where it's supposed to be. It actually engages my hand perfectly. I've got a little bit of control, plus I can keep my trigger finger ready for the trigger. So the way you can do this, if you hold this down and just hold it, it's a momentary flash button. And when you let go, it goes off. If you tap the button, it just stays on. Now, the tactical people out there in the world will say, well, you really don't want to just leave a light on and be running around if people are shooting at you because you're identifying yourself. Remember, it's dark outside. So you want to use a light in a tactical sense, and you want to be able to, one, identify the threat, boom, boom. Now, if he's got a weapon, you've got to get out of the way. You can't just stand there. So you'll momentarily off and move. Now, what that does, what's really interesting about these lights, and we play with this a bunch, what that allows you to do is temporarily blind your opponent, your bad guy, with this light. Because if it's dark outside, his eyes are going to constrict when they see that light, which means he's accepting less lights. As soon as you turn the light off, there's a temporary blindness until the eyes dilate up and you're able to see more light and gather more light and all that. So they're just for that 2-3 seconds before your eyes start to open up, even if there's ambient light around, you're going to be able to move and be somewhat hidden for just that brief amount of time. But that is really important because that brief amount of time may make a difference. So the way I like to operate is with my left thumb. I would flash the target, boom, move, and ascertain if I've got to engage. Last thing we want to do is actually shoot anybody. So again, one of the things about a light, it's going to say, well, gosh, he didn't have a weapon. And he's far enough away that I don't really have to shoot him. I can close a door. I can put a couch between us. I can leave. But the idea is I can identify the threat. And that's the key aspect behind a light. And Streamlight has been around for a long time, so they make a very high quality product. I think you'll be very happy with this TLR7. S as in sub. Now the other feature, it does have two other things. It has a strobe, like I said, but if your hands are a little bigger than this button allows, if the button is too big for you, sticking back too far, they actually have a system here that you can actually take this back plate off with an Allen wrench. That does not come included, by the way, so keep that in mind. And you can take that off and you can actually reduce the size of those. I actually like them perfectly the way they are. It's just a nice little spot, kind of my thumb rests perfectly on it right there. Boom, boom. So I've got a really good purchase. It's got a little bit of serrations up there and everything. So, but they do allow you to minimize that button a little bit if you need to. If you've got really big hands and you feel that it's just too big for you, it's sticking out too far, it interferes, you accidentally are bumping it, whatever. There's a lot of different options here with this TLR7 sub. And it's new, and we've got it here at GlockStore. It's going to fit your 43X with a rail. I'm Lenny McGill. Thanks for watching. This, of course, is the GlockStore Performance and Custom Shop here in Nashville today. And I'm inviting you down here to come to the facility here in Nashville and check it out. We've got a really great thing going here, and love to see you come on down. See you next time.